A lot of us are going to come to the floor and speak on the first bill that's on the calendar. And I want you to know we're not speaking just to hold up the calendar, but we think that it's an awful bill, that it infringes upon all the freedoms of spreading knowledge to our children in school. And that is most unfortunate that some people would bring forth a bill, Mr. Speaker, that they know they were never taught hate in their school. They were never taught, I don't think, I never was, taught to hate another race because of different events that happen in this country. But I want to especially express to Mr. Speaker that we're not coming to prolong the calendar, but we have major issues with the first bill on the calendar because we think that that bill is offensive. There's a couple other bills that's on the calendar that deals with election. There's another one dealing with the election that we think has bearing on the very process of campaigning. And so we're not here just trying to for show. We're here because we think that it is to the detriment of the people that we represent. I represent a diverse group of people. They're all hard-working men and women. Some are black, some are poor whites, some are middle-income people. And I think that this bill that's coming up, the first one, is one that is not the truth about America, nor its teachers. And I just cannot perceive any teacher in the classroom that taught us or anybody else that would teach us to hate another race of people. But I want to bring that to your attention, and maybe you'll be slow to bring the cloture motion on us. Appreciate you listening.
And thank you, Representative Moore, and we've always been a deliberate body, and I will respect the debate and the comments that will come.
I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. All right, let's move on to the next order of business, and that'd be, Mr. Pro Tem, we had no announcements. Okay. The clerk will now be receiving reports from standing committees, and we'll be receiving those throughout the day. And the House is now in the position for the introduction of bills and resolutions, and we'll be receiving those until the clerk completes his paperwork at the end of the day. All right, the chair recognizes the gentleman from Jefferson, Representative Rogers. Personal privilege.
Mr. Speaker, I'm kind of upset about the calendar here. I get the calendar. I got it last night, of course, but you know I'm going to come upset about it. I'm not upset about it, but now I'm going to ask that the calendar be read in length. I can do that. I want every bill read in length. Not every bill, but the calendar rather. I'm gonna try to swap the calendar around. I'm going to make a motion to move the bill, top bill, down to the last bill. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do, and because I can do that, and then I can talk about it for 20 minutes. 10, if you recognize me, 10. So, but I kind of find it kind of odd. I'm more concerned about the crooked race theory, but I'm also concerned about House Bill 563. I need to get some understanding totally about that, because of the fact that if this is to eliminate certain things, if I could get a full understanding about 563, because the fact that if this is to eliminate certain things that go on at the polls in black communities, I need to know. Because we do, I mean, by the ballots, by sample ballots and all that kind of stuff, I understand that's what it's about. By sample ballots and using sample ballots in different places. I need to get a full understanding of that, so that's one of my primary concerns. Those first two bills are my primary concern. And I just want to inform you that I'm going to do it within the rules, okay? And thank you.
Yes, sir. And Representative Rogers, we respect that. We'll operate under the rules and make the motion. I understand. As long as that motion's in order, we'll accept it. I work very hard to try to be fair.
I'm saying, hey, I think you do. I'm not questioning your fairness.
Well, my fairness was questioned the other day, and my concern.
I'm going to inform you what I'm going to do. I'm not.
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, members, we've got some special guests. We've got the Miss Williams' 5th grade class at Little Ridge Intermediate School in Fort Payne, and they are watching via live stream this morning. You are the special guest of Representative Nathaniel Ledbetter, so we could all give them a wave and say thank you for attending through the technology that we have available to us today. We would also like to recognize some visitors that's in the gallery with us in person. The Pioneer Electric Cooperative Youth Tour, students from House Districts 67, Representative Chestnut, 68, Representative Jackson, District 69, Representative Lawrence, and District 90, Representative Sales. Would y'all stand up? Our tour group right here behind on the left over here. Good to have y'all with us as our special guests. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, let's move to the next order of business. We're going to go to the Senate messages, Mr. Clerk. And I want to call out the first bill on the Senate messages would be Senate Bill 191.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, the Senate has non-concurred in the House amendment to Senate Bill number 191 and requests a committee on conference. And the Senate has appointed as committee on the part of the Senate, Senators Albritton, Weaver, and Smitherman. Signed Patrick Harris, Secretary.
And Chairman Klaus, you're recognized.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. I will move to accede to the wishes of the Senate and go to conference.
All right, the motion on the floor right now is to accede to the wishes of the House Conference on the Senate Bill 191. The chair recognizes the lady from Madison, Representative Hall. We'll recognize you next, Representative Gavan. Representative Gavan, we'll recognize you next. Representative.
They didn't give us any information on what the problems are?
No.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes, ma'am.
can someone provide me what the issues are related to this particular?
When we come back with a conference report, we'll know.
No, but it would be nice for us.
Normally, there's been times that we don't know what the issues are until we come into conference. And of course, you've seen that in the past, just like I have. So we're just going to have, it's one of those issues where we'll have to see. The conference made their motion, they passed it, now it's down to us. He's acceding to that. So let's go to conference and see where we are. I wish if I had him and the chairman had him, he would share that with you, I'm sure.
Somebody, somewhere, ought to be able to tell me what the issues are.
Listen, I'm with you on that. We're just at that point to where we're going to have to accede and move on. And let's see what we end up with. As a matter of fact, I think you're going to have a seat at the table on this.
But I'd like to know what I'm about to eat.
Yeah, I agree. I can't argue with you.
Me too, Representative Hall.
I'm sure the chairman and I are together on this too. We know for sure we're not gonna concur though on something we don't know about. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
And so I know I'm just talking. I'm not just talking to hear myself talk, but I do think it is as I continue to see and look at what is happening, it is important. No reflection on you, no reflection on any, but it is important that as we start to move in terms of what I see happening and how we are moving in terms of presenting our calendars and everything, it is important to have as much information as possible. I think if we can in some way make sure that information is provided as we move forward, I think it is so important for everybody to know. We should have some idea of what's going on. Thank you. I know I'm just beating a dead horse, and I'm sorry, dead horse, but we'll keep working on this. Thank you.
And the chair thanks the lady. The chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Gavan. Okay. All right. Then let's move on then. And members, we're ready to vote. We're going to vote on the motion to accede to the wishes of the conference committee. If you're in favor of this motion, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 93 yeas, 0 nays, 3 abstentions, and the motion is adopted. Chairman Klaus. And I believe that we need to go ahead and appoint a committee. The committee will be Chairman Klaus, Vice Chairman South, and Representative Hall. So, Representative Hall, just let us know what the menu says when you get there, so we'll know. All right. All right, Mr. Clerk, that's got that message out of the way. Let's go to the next Senate message, Senate Bill 111.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, the Senate has non-concurred in the House amendment to Senate Bill number 111 and requests a committee on conference. And the Senate has appointed as committee on the part of the Senate, Senators Albritton, Justine, and Singleton.
And Chairman Klaus, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we'll move to accede to the wishes of the Senate and go to conference.
All right, members, you've heard the motion before you. If you're in favor of this motion, your vote will be aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. All the members vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 94 yeas, 0 nays, 2 abstentions, and the motion is adopted. And, Mr. Clerk, do I need to name them again? All right, same names. We're going to go with Chairman Klaus, Vice Chairman South, and Representative Hall will be on that committee. All right. Let's go to the next Senate message. Senate Bill 106 would be the budget.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, the Senate has non-concurred in the House amendment to Senate Bill number 106 and requests a committee on conference.
Chairman Klaus.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'll make a motion to accede to the wishes of the Senate and go to conference.
All right, members, you've heard the motion before you. If you are in favor of this motion, your vote would be aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 94 yeas, 0 nays, 3 abstentions, and the motion is adopted. The conference committee for that will be Chairman Klaus, Vice Chairman South, and Representative Hall will be on that committee. All right, Mr. Clerk, let's go to the next Senate message, Senate Bill 108.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, the Senate has non-concurred in the House amendment to Senate Bill number 108 and requests a committee on conference. And the Senate has appointed as committee on part of the Senate, Senators Albritton, Livingston, and Smitherman.
And Chairman Klaus, you're recognized.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. I'll wish to accede to the wishes of the Senate and go to conference.
All right, members, you've heard the motion before you. If you're in favor of this motion, your vote will be aye. If you oppose, your vote is no. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. All the members voted. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. There are 96 yeas, 0 nays, 2 abstentions, and the motion is adopted. The conference committee will be Chairman Klaus, Vice Chairman South, and Representative Hall will be the members of that conference committee. All right. Let's move now back to the order of our business here on the House floor. The Chair recognizes the gentleman from Covington, Chairman Jones, for a resolution.
Mr. Speaker, I have a resolution.
All right, clerk, receive the resolution.
House Resolution number 175 by the House Rules Committee, the special order calendar.
Move adoption.
All right, the question is the adoption of the special order calendar. And the chair recognizes now the gentleman from Mobile, Representative Bracey, first person speaking on the special order.
Thank you to speak with the gentleman. You.
Absolutely.
What's up, man?
I thought you were going to start singing that song again, but we're
Nah,
good
not
so
today.
far.
We're not singing no songs today, brother.
Thank you.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out, man, because the more me and you talk, we start to kind of talk about what kind of legacy you gonna leave as the chairman of rules. What kind of legacy you gonna leave us, man?
I think that's really for members and for others to determine. That's really not for me to determine.
But sometimes we drive that, and I can't understand why is it that it seems like once a week or so we have something moving with these calendars. Like what's up with that? How is it that we keep getting to the point that some bills just appear to be more important than everything else because we keep getting a calendar, and you like me, I like to read my stuff, right? I get my bills, I start reading it, and then all of a sudden, I get a whole nother calendar that basically said none of these other bills are as important as what we're gonna put at the top of this calendar. Why are we not just putting this stuff at the top anyway?
Well, let me start by saying 2 of the first 4 bills that you're referring to were actually picked on the calendar that was originally picked. And so they're not new bills. They were actually already on the calendar.
2 of the 4. What about the 2 of the 2?
So the other 2 bills were added.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So what was the price? Why would they add it? What's the importance of those 2 bills to feel like not only should they be added to the calendar, but they should be at the top of the order of the calendar? Just like in baseball, sometimes you try to get base hits right at the gate. You put somebody pretty good up first.
So once again, and you and I both been doing this a number of years. You understand exactly what we're doing. We're trying to get these issues that sometimes have more heavy debate. Frankly, it's my recommendation that we deal with those now, that we don't wait till the end of session to deal with those heavy debate issues. And the reason's obvious. As we get closer to the end of session, obviously the SB-HB crossing becomes an issue. And it made more sense to try to take care of this before we leave for the break than it would to come back after the break. So that's one reason. Now the other thing, and I'm sure you noticed this, Rules doesn't normally publish a calendar until we adopt a calendar. But to show good faith, once I was aware that we were making this shift, I actually went ahead and instructed my clerk to publish this calendar to both the committee but also to all the members.
Talking about last night.
Yesterday.
The substitute calendar.
We published it roughly 4:30 or 5 o'clock, somewhere in that range.
But the substitute calendar.
That's correct.
So you saying that we should be grateful that you gave us an opportunity?
No, I didn't say grateful, but it is but I agree with you that you prepare and read bills. Representative Hall prepares and reads bills. I mean, a lot of us do.
Right.
And so once again, to show good faith, I wanted to get the proposed calendar out a little earlier than we normally would do. And it was entirely to try to give that extra time to make it available. And since there's only 2 extra bills, that's the reason. I mean, the other
only
bills,
2?
Only 2. Only 2 additional bills.
That's not just 2. That's
Well, they're
not,
not-
that's
if you
not,
look
that's
at 'em,
not
they're-
two, that's
they're not
not
very
two
lengthy
10-minute,
bills
that's
either.
not two 10-minute calendar bills.
Well, they're definitely not 10-minute calendars.
Yeah, so when we say only two, I mean, we have to like put that in perspective.
Well, they're
We're
not
talking about
actually
two
lengthy
bills that's gonna carry us a ways.
Yeah, but once again, I mean, as the speaker indicated, would expect there to be some heavy debate on at least a couple of these bills.
Answer this for me. So
Some
the
of these
first,
bills I wouldn't expect as heavy a debate.
so the first bill, so do you feel optimistic that we're gonna do the whole calendar today?
I do.
Okay. So for the first bill, when did that bill come out of committee? Because I know I read some things about a 1-minute committee meeting on that bill.
So the committee amendment was posted March 15th,
Okay.
I believe.
So that bill came out of committee
Actually,
on March 15th?
The physical report was done March 14th, and the committee amendment was done March 15th.
Okay, so that bill has been out of committee all of less than 2 days.
I think that math is correct.
Okay, so that bill has been out of committee all of less than 2 days. How many bills have been out of committee prior to that we hadn't got to yet?
I mean, obviously hundreds.
Hundreds.
Right.
So,
But as you know,
so this bill is so important that it just jumps hundreds of bills that are already out of committee and in position to be placed on the calendar. So this bill didn't just jump 20 other bills on today's calendar. This bill jumped hundreds of pieces of legislation to get to the front of the line, because if it had the level of importance that evidently, clearly it has today.
well, let me clarify.
Then-
There's actually not been hundreds of bills that have cleared committee. There have been hundreds of bills filed.
Okay.
There's
Well, let's just
in
talk
fact,
about the ones
there's-
that clear.
So out of the 500 bills that have been filed on the House side, there's roughly about 503, 504 bills that are
Okay.
filed. About 258 of those have not cleared committee.
So that means half of them did. So we probably
Approximately half of
probably
clear
passed less than half for that. So that's still a couple hundred. So not only is this bill way more important to clearly whoever picked it, because I know usually when I say who picked this bill that's going to cause us all these problems today, you always defer to the speaker
Well-
as the person that.
Well, actually, I'm not going to say that today for a reason.
Oh, not today.
No,
So every other time we have a divisive bill.
No, I don't say
that's
that either.
First or second on the calendar.
No, I'm not saying that either. What I am saying is, anytime I'm looking at the end game for the session. That's part of what I'm doing as rules chair, is looking how things are laying out days in advance. I try to set us up for the end of session, frankly, to where we don't get as bogged down. And I know how sometimes the Senate and the House get into a tug of war at the end.
Right.
And so I try to avoid bills that would contribute or make that even worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was my recommendation, actually, that if we're going to take this bill up, it needed to be before we go on break. And so
Right.
that's why I recommended.
And I'm gonna tell you what I thought about it. Since that's your rationale for it, I'm gonna tell you my rationale for why I think that the bill came. I think the bill came today because you knew we would have some issues with it, and you felt like maybe spring break will be a cool down period for everybody. So maybe you felt like, you know what, let's go ahead and have this fight now, and we're gonna let everybody cool down, and maybe they'll forget about it when they come back. Is that not more of the rationale? Because that's what I feel like it was. Because if I was you, that's what I would have done, hoping that.
Well, you should be rules chair.
Oh, no, I mean, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. I live in a reality. But what we need to do is just realize that all the time people don't cool down. A cool down period doesn't quite work all the time for everybody.
But I also don't think the bill you're referring to is going to be just a partisan debate. I actually think there's going to be some pretty healthy debate around completely on this bill. I mean, this bill is one that, in good faith, it should get some debate. So I would expect that.
Okay. No, I'm not gonna blame anyone. I feel special. I'm getting notes from the speaker today. your friend Mac. It's like, is that like my friend Mac truck about to run over me today?
Well, he's smiling.
It said your friend Mac. That's all I could think about is a Mac truck. But you know what? I got nails in my pocket. If a Mac truck run over me, you might have some flat tires when you get through today. So, you know, I look forward to going a few rounds and having some discussion. So I'm gonna save all my conversation about critical race theory for the sponsor. Because the sponsor of this bill, he don't sponsor many bills. And he picked a firecracker to sponsor today. So I got my, I bought some insoles for my shoes from, it's like Copper Fit. They got these new insoles that it make it feel like your feet getting massaged.
Right.
So it just make me feel like we just gonna roll all day today.
Well, I also encourage the sponsor to have some comfortable shoes on today. So
That's great encouragement. That's great encouragement. I have an extra pair of the Copper Fit, but just out of courtesy for the sponsor, I'm gonna hold those back. So I'm not gonna share those with him. But it may not be a bad idea to pull up a stool today. Bring him a bar stool to sit on, because it's gonna be that kind of day to day. But I'm just really interested in knowing a little bit more about it and just seeing y'all perspective of it, because I know my perspective. Thank you for your time.
And the chair thanks the gentleman. Let me recognize some guests here as we move through this. We want to recognize the leadership from Cleburne County. You are the special guest of Representative Jenny Shaver. Cleburne County, would y'all stand up for us, please? Good to have you with us. Good to have you as our guest here in the State House today. Thank you. Special guest of Representative Jenny Shaver. Also, we have the youth leadership with Central Alabama Electorate. Where is this group at? Autauga, Chilton, Elmore, and Coosa, right up here to our left. Good to have y'all. Special guest of Representatives Van Smith, Will Desmukes, Reed Ingram, Kelvin Lawrence, Representative Bedsoe, and Representative Holmes, and Representative Robbins. So thank y'all for being with us. Y'all are special guests of ours today. All right. The chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Gavan.
You know, I love those apple Laffy Taffies,
that's the ones you pick.
of course.
Okay.
And a couple of cherries. Representative Jones,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, I think it was about 2 weeks ago I mentioned some witch's brew and ob nude and hocus pocus and all of those things we learned about and with some of the nursery rhymes in school. And then we get back to today, this calendar, and it just takes me back to that dialogue that we had, which was a pretty good conversation. And then I think at one point this session I asked you about the special order calendar. And
Yes, ma'am.
you know, we hear these terminologies here, and we get so accustomed to hearing them without actually knowing and understanding what they mean. Although you explained it and gave me some insight, I still went back to just the singular word, special. The special order calendar.
Yes, ma'am.
And now we're here today with another special order calendar proposed by the Rules Committee. And the first thing I noticed on this special order calendar is HB 312. And I'm somewhat confused about HB 312. And for many, some of us have come to know this as a CRT
a critical race theory piece of legislation, but I'm going to ask you just to enlighten me as to your knowledge of HB312 to help me understand the urgency of this particular bill jumping over all of the major bills that we have out here. I've never seen a session where so many bills just move from the little engine that could to the little engine that ultimately would and then did, and it's over. So can you help me understand HB 312 and the urgency and what makes this bill so special to be on the special order calendar?
Well, I'm going to let the sponsor get into the weeds on it. I don't actually remember seeing the term critical race theory in the bill.
But, again, it may not be noted, and that's why I said we hear things and we see things.
Right.
But ultimately, it's either one way or another, or one thing or another.
And so,
and in this bill, education and training, diverse concepts for teaching of the concept of certain circumstances allows teachers to accept. So help me understand what this bill means.
And once again, I review the bills. I do all the bills. I think the wording that's used in the bill for the description is prohibition against divisive concepts.
So do you think teaching about history and race, the realization of things that happen in this country from basically 1619 to the present is one of those concepts?
And no, ma'am, that's not what it says.
Okay.
It defines divisive concept on page 3, but if you then look over, and I'm trying to find the exact page of the other language, because it specifically has language in it that if you're teaching, if teaching is being done on any issues that might have been in the definition part of a divisive concept, as long as it's being taught in the context of a bigger class, so it's just one portion of a bigger class, and it's taught in that context, then it's specifically allowed.
But is race not typically taught in a bigger, broader, on a bigger or broader scale?
Well, you know, I'm going to be honest. When I was, and it's been a long time since I was in school, Representative Gouffin, it's been quite a while. I don't remember there being a class where we really went into issues of race in a class, but I was in the 80s when, you know.
And I guess that's the thing that, you know, I've been thinking about since this issue of the CRT has come about. And ultimately, for those who don't know what the CRT, it really is a concept where individuals actually teach and discuss about racial issues from the past in order to move forward to correct those things and those matters of the past. But some folks have taken it to say that there will be individual teachers in the classroom that will talk about how white folks treated black folks and call white folks out for all of these things, which they had done. I mean, it's a known fact. Discrimination exists, racism exists. This bill is not going to stop it from existing. But the critical race theory is really to help bridge the gap, to talk about those issues, and to come up with ways in which we can move forward in unison throughout this country and exist black and white or whatever race. So that's why I'm concerned about the word, those concepts, because again, this is a ruse for something that's just not being said, and the bottom line, that's what the CRT is. I mean, why it has been turned into something else, I'm not sure. And I started not to even speak on this, because I've been trying, I got a lot of other things going on, and I just really don't have time to treat some of these issues right now.
And I actually don't think you and I probably disagree on as much as you would think, because I actually have a similar approach that I don't think we should be excluding or crossing out any of our history. I think the way we should be learning our history is exactly the truthful way it occurred, which is not good necessarily for any one particular
I agree
person.
wholeheartedly.
And so I don't think we should get rid of some of the statues that we've gotten rid of, because even though they may, for some, may be a bad thing, it's part of that knowledge of that history
It's
that we
still
learn.
part-
It's
and
part
I
of the
don't have
learning.
I don't have a problem with that one way or the other. I believe that we need to talk about 1619. I think we need to talk about Jamestown.
Well, if you
I-
look at some of these very things you're talking about, they actually contributed to where our Constitution was designed and derived,
Exactly.
which got us to where we are today. So I think ultimately,
But
you and I agree on these things.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, we still have individuals, and some still exist even in this house, that still, regardless of how we have, unfortunately, these come-by-y'all moments, that in their minds, black folks, and I'm only speaking my truth, and again, I don't ask anyone else to amen me or not, that don't feel like everyone is equal. Not even just with regards to race. Sexism exists. I mean, a woman in some men's mind will never be better or greater or smarter. But I would shudder to think what this world would be like without a woman.
I would have to agree with you on that.
Because we're the only ones that can I get an amen, my sisters in here? But the realization is, because it's one thing, it's a lot of things a man can do, but one thing he cannot do is bring life into the world, carry it 9 months, and most of the time feed it, keep it, raise it, and then re-raise it again over and over, because mama is gonna always be mama. But, you know, I'm just concerned, again, with how some of these pieces of legislation, some of this sponsored legislation has come on the calendar, jumping above, leaps and bounds. I mean, doing flips and cartwheels, and the next thing you know, it's at the top of the calendar. So I'm just trying to figure out after all these years about this special order calendar. And all I see when I come in here now is that word special. What makes these pieces of legislation so critical and so special that they are moved instantaneously from the bottom of the pile to the top? They come out of committee so fast, I mean, it gives me whiplash. Every time before I can do this, it's like the bill is here.
And the chair thanks the lady. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Marengo County, Representative McCampbell. And Representative Campbell, is he on the floor? In the gallery? Here he comes. Chairman Jones, he'll be up in the gallery.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition.
Yes, sir.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Well, you have one of your beauties again today. I tell you, I was sitting there watching TV last night, and I said, well, let me look and see what my tomorrow is going to hold for me. And lo and behold, I reached over, and all of a sudden, I had a nightmare. And so I cut it back off and said, maybe it'll get better in the morning. But I woke it up. I woke up this morning, and it was still there. And so now I'm actually holding the real product in my hand. I heard you say something, and I really have more of my questions for the sponsor of the bill. But as we look at it, I heard you say something in terms of your perspective.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's very important. My parents were history teachers.
Yes, sir.
And both of them, you know, so I have a real love for the history.
As do
stuff. And you know, I was speaking with one of my colleagues. I guess it was either earlier this year or last session, and he and I were just talking about history, and it's amazing the history that he talks about and has. That's Representative Dismute. Do you understand? He has a collection of Confederate buttons and all sort of artifacts, and it was so amazing for he and I to converse on that issue. And I think what we need to be looking at as I think about this bill, it doesn't allow that diverse, you know, it's trying to take away that diversity in terms of our different heritages and how we actually talk about them. You know, those are the things that you know, I may not agree or may have a bad feeling about the Civil War. But I also understand that some of my ancestors fought on both sides.
Yes, sir.
Of the Civil War. You know, there are things that he and I were able to talk about that had we not been able to actually sit and converse and talk about those differences, then I would not have the appreciation for his feelings about it, as well as he wouldn't understand or have the appreciation of my feelings about certain areas, certain things regarding the history of America. So as we bring this bill, you know, and as I say, it's more that I will want to talk to the sponsor.
Yes, sir.
More so than you. But you just happen to be standing there now, and
I understand.
You are a perfect opportunity for me to say exactly what I have to say right
sir.
now. But then we go into those next three bills on the calendar.
Yes, sir.
Is it three or, I think it, let me look. Let me look here. We have election bills, and I'll call them, well, one of them, that HB225, you know, it'd be great if that one was up top, wouldn't it? That one right there is when you look at that bill, I think that
Doing well.
that representative actually brought a very good bill. It's something that encourages the participation of people in our electoral system. You know, there are a number of people that are unable to get to the ballot box to vote on that one Tuesday that we have. So to be able to vote absentee and to not have to have your notarization and have to have two witnesses, you know, that's actually a good bill that promotes participation in our electoral system. So I'm kind of looking forward to that one. Wouldn't you agree that that's probably a good bill?
Well, the bill only speaks to one specific variable, and the variable is if you're overseas. It's mainly directed to military that are overseas. This is based on a federal act, and the voting method for our men and women in the military is that it's an electronic voting system that's set up, I believe, through the federal government. And
well, you know,
so
and that is a great thing. So I think we
But they use their military ID, is my understanding, as
Uh-huh.
as their verification of identification, which, as you know, is a photo ID with their identification numbers, their military ID numbers. So,
And you know, that's one of the things I think we need to talk to the sponsor about. We may also need that because you have to send in a photo ID anyway.
Representative Camo, I think there's a young lady's about to bring some stuff up to you.
Okay, I appreciate it. If she doesn't find a way up here, I'll come on down to see her. But you know, I think that would be a great move toward encouraging and increasing voter participation in our system. You know, and don't you agree we need to be encouraging voters to participate?
Well, I don't think there's any disagreement that we want as many people who are eligible voters to vote. I mean, we want that. But they also want to make sure that people that are not eligible voters, by that I mean people from other states, people that are deceased, people that have lost their ability, legal right to vote for whatever reason, that we also be protective of that as well.
You know, and we have a system called My Votes, that My Vote system. You can pull it up. It'll tell you where you are to vote, who your representative is,
Yes,
who your senator is. It even tells you if you are qualified to vote. You know, so we have systems in place that can make sure we are getting good legal voters. But yet and still we're coming up with things that would kind of discourage people simply because they are thinking one thing and find out something else. I discovered some people that were qualified voters, should have been able to go on and vote, but because they had not been, hadn't voted in the last 2 presidential elections, you know, had nothing else that would have prohibited them from voting. They were now off the voter rolls. So we had to get them back on the voter rolls, you know. And so when people discover these things at the last minute, I think we need to begin developing something that allows us as a system, if we want everybody to vote, to correct that then so that we are not punishing them for something that they didn't know. But I appreciate your time, but I'll spend more time with the sponsors of the bill.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. Chair thanks the gentleman. Members, we've got some special guests in the gallery we want to recognize. We've got the students from Tallapoosa County Government class from Dadeville High. Are you in the gallery there? Would you stand up if you're back left over here? Good, good. It's good to have y'all with us as our guests. You are the special guest of Representative Oliver and Chief Tuggle. So it's good to have y'all with us today. All right. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Mobile, Mayor Jones. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. And gentlemen, you?
Absolutely.
I came down to the lobby in the hotel real early this morning. I was trying to catch you for breakfast so I could discuss this. Since it's going to be quite lengthy, I thought we'd do it over there.
I had to speak at a thing across the street at 7 a.m. So that's.
Oh, okay. Well, I watched a long time. They thought I was down there looking for someone.
I did look for you when I came through, though, just to see if
I saw you going out the door when you went. But my question had to do with the calendars, and we've had several special order calendars that have been in question. My question is, do we consider the real good necessary bill that we're not going to get to because of the top 4 on the calendar? Do we ever consider that?
Yes, sir. I mean, you know, obviously when we pick calendars, and most of these bills are still picked, the rules members themselves each have one pick. And so, and there's members of both sides of the aisle that are on Rules Committee. And so it becomes those members who they choose as the priority bills. And it's basically each members on each side of the aisle. And frankly, you may not be aware, I've picked Democratic bills in the past that were my pick because they were a good bill that needed to come to the floor for a reason. And I'm sure that there's been some some Democratic members who probably have picked a Republican bill. That's happened as well. So Rules Committee, that's one thing I've really enjoyed about Rules Committee is that the members do look at that issue as to what's important for the state, and it doesn't always align with party lines. Sometimes it crosses party lines.
When I look at the order of the bills, I can't fathom anything you would like about being a Rules Committee. It seems to me that where we are is, you know, we had a discussion
Yes,
about taking a break. We're not going to take a break today and come back, are we?
No, once we conclude today, and it is our intent to move through this entire calendar. So we're not looking to just move a bill or two. We're looking to move the calendar. And the reason is this: after today, we basically have about 3 more session days to really move HBs to the other floor for them to have serious ability to move out and be passed. And so, it's, in my opinion, we need to work. If we're going to get some HBs across the way, we need to move them.
Well, I'm always concerned about when we take a break, because when we come back, we usually be dealing with another calendar, and I just didn't want us to change this one out today in the middle of what we're doing here.
Well, upon adjournment, Rules will meet again today, as we always do, and we will we'll pick a calendar for the Tuesday that we return after the break.
Well, as I look at the calendar, and I'm not going to mention the bills. I spent all night putting together some information on the bills. I was going to talk to you about that this morning. We didn't get a chance to talk. You probably wouldn't have made your engagement if I had talked to you about it. But as I see it, the bills appear to be those that stimulate lengthy debates, as I see it on the calendar, and at least the first 4 bills anyway.
The first bill for sure, I would expect some extended debate. Actually, the other 3 bills afterwards that are basically election bills, I mean, I don't actually expect all those to be as lengthy debate because some of them, frankly, are just technical changes. They're also, one of these bills is actually, I thought, fairly simple as far as what it touches. And so I didn't look at those as being as controversial. I thought if you actually look at them for what they say, there's really not as much there to be anybody to be concerned about. They seem to be in good faith. But yes, I did expect some extended debate on the first bill.
Yeah. As far as the special order is concerned, I was concerned about the question that Representative Bracey asked about how do we prioritize bills on the special order. There are some bills that I see on the calendar that I consider to be very, very important and some very timely to be on the calendar.
Yes, sir, I would agree. That's one reason we hope to finish this calendar today.
Yeah, and with the time that we're going to spend here talking about the calendar, and then with the time we're going to spend on the first bill, and possibly 2 more, some of the time we're going to spend on those, I'm concerned that we'll get to those, what I consider to be very, very important bills.
I can say this. I know it's the intent of both the speaker and myself that we're planning on completing this calendar today. Because if we're going to move these HBs, and some of these, I agree with you, some of these HBs, I also agree they need to move. They're good bills. And so it's our intent to move this calendar in total.
Well, I can give you some advice on the calendar to make it move quite. if you were taking suggestions on the calendar, I'll give you some suggestions on the calendar where we could be out of here. I mean, but I know that you consider this a priority. The bill on top of the calendar, I don't consider a priority. And the reason I don't consider it a priority is because, to me, I consider it to be a regressive bill and not a progressive bill. I consider it to be a bill that makes our state start addressing something that doesn't exist in our state anyway, and will probably never exist at the level of K-12 anyway.
Well, yeah. The whole issue of the term critical race theory, and you know this, and I know this, it's actually, it's a graduate level discussion issue that's used to bring up a bigger picture issue. It's not actually has never been intended to be used in K through 12. It's never been intended to be used in daily life. It's actually, the whole reason it evolved was to create a discussion at a graduate level course. And so as you and I know, that's how it evolved. However, for whatever reason, our society has turned it into more than what it was originally designed to be. And that's part of the problem, I think.
Well, you know, the reason I mention that is because we often wound up dealing with issues that really don't exist. I mean, they exist in some people's minds, but in application, they really don't exist.
I think the term and what critical race theory really is, frankly, I think it's kind of been hijacked over time, and it's turned into something different. And so it's a term now being used for a concept that is not what it was originally designed to be, and it has become divisive because of that.
Well, it actually, in my opinion, it was a name that people picked up for something else that they couldn't describe.
I would agree. I think it was intentionally being used because it has a divisive nature to the name, and I think that's part of why it's there.
The one thing that interests me about it, though, was that usually when we have a synopsis, we have a definition for what we're dealing with. I hadn't seen one yet.
There is actually definitions in the bill itself. It starts on page 2, I believe, of the bill. And the very first definition is divisive concept, and it goes into quite a lengthy description of what that intends.
But the problem with that is that the teaching of critical race theory really talks about the results in today's societies of some former things that's taking place. But that is not what I see as the effort here. The effort here is to really control some portions of the education system on what they teach and really how they teach. And so if we are going to do that here, then we could save a whole lot of money and we just become the state school board. In the legislature here, it just seems to me that what we are addressing are issues that we have a structure already in place to address, and from my understanding, state superintendent has addressed in Alabama. And it seems to me to be overkill, but using a name that is not really being used at all in our public school system.
So I will say this, the bill itself actually addresses more than K through 12. It addresses higher ed, it addresses employment, employer issues, and so it is much more broad than just simply K through 12.
Well, when I come back to talk to the sponsor of the bill,
yes, sir,
I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with that in the military.
Yes, sir.
Because this is not the first time this theory has come about. In fact, it was put together by the military. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I don't have but a few seconds. I couldn't talk to you about it.
Yes,
but
sir.
I appreciate the time.
Anytime.
Thank you, Speaker.
Chair thanks the gentleman. The chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With a gentleman yield.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm just like my colleagues and everybody else. Today, as I look at this calendar, one that really just catches my eyes is HB63 and HB 225, but HB 63.
And that's the pre-filling of the fields on those absentee ballots, right?
Mm-hmm. So explain that one to me.
Explain pre-filling?
HB 63.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, as always, I always try to let the sponsors take care of the weeds. But
I know, but you're good at it. You know all of them by heart. You can just read them off at the back of your hand. Just
well, it's really, I think it reads as simple as it appears to be. It's whether it's absentee ballots, and I think that's, I'm going to be specific if I can. Registration applications and the thank you, and the absentee ballots. So I knew it was two things. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So it's actually two things, and that's why I was looking to make sure I knew I was saying correctly. It's the absentee ballot issue, but also the registration application issue. And it's basically saying that not to have pre-filled fields of information in the top of it. That the person who's actually required to fill out the form. There's exceptions. It can be done with the consent. So if you have somebody that's simply unable to write or unable to type for whatever reason, then with consent of the person that's the person who's on the application, then it allows somebody to help. And so it doesn't prevent someone from helping somebody. It just means you can't basically hand out droves of pre-filled out forms for people to sign without them having an opportunity to look at it and give consent. Okay. And that's the kind of the crux of it.
That's the gist of that one.
Yes, ma'am. And it does put a penalty on this for individuals that do this. It's a Class C felony. Class C felony is punishable by 1 year and a day to 10 years.
Okay. Now, just suppose a nursing home, and just give you a feel with the nursing home. Thank you, honey. That's my friend, you know.
She's very prepared and she's ready for this bill.
I'm good with it. But just like a nursing home, if they take out the time and just put the address in, this address in the voting precincts for the individuals that's in the nursing home that want to file that, when they go around, then all they had to do is just fill their name out and put their information in, but where they live at, due to the fact they have not been living there a year or whatever, supposed to have that already typed out or pre-formed, just like you go on the internet and you get application.
Well, once again, and I can't say I know exactly what nursing homes do. I don't. But as long as the person with whom it is signing the application or the
okay with it,
as long as it's with their consent, and they're knowledgeable of it, well, then that's okay. So there's a way for that to be done to where it's not improper. The issue is with consent. But when you just mass produce, pre-filled in ballots,
I understand that. Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Now it's one on here about the poll workers. Poll watchers, poll workers cannot.
I believe that's 239, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That they cannot assist like they normally do now. They can go in and assist a person that cannot read, write, or need help. Now, what does this one do? Tell me about this one.
Well, this one's one that it's not as out there as it appears.
Okay.
So right now, the way our code is set up, there's a difference between the rules or the laws that deal with a municipal election and a non-municipal election.
Okay.
And all this basically does, it syncs up to where the same rules and laws that apply to municipal elections match up to non-municipal elections. And so that's the real big difference. The reason why you don't usually think of that is usually in municipal elections, they're nonpartisan. However, in some cities, there is some partisan nature to municipal elections. But basically, that's what this does. It syncs up those two differences in those two different type of elections.
Okay, so with it doing that.
And I'm going to let the sponsor give more details. I'm not the sponsor, but
I know,
my read of it, that's what it appears to be.
But you're the attorney, though. You're a darn good attorney now. You're going to make sure every T and I is dotted and every T is crossed. You're going to make sure what they turn in, or, everything is right. Even when I put something in, you're going to say, okay, now this here is already over here. And I know how you do.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
So,
that's my
and
view.
I appreciate you doing that. I'm not here to scone you or scold you or nothing like.
And that's one reason why I did not see that one as being as controversial as some might think it would be.
Okay.
Because once again it's syncing up to those areas of election law.
So now, I think the part I have a problem with is the poll worker will not be able to assist.
There's a difference